And welcome back to LSL 47. We are now in the semifinals. I am Pat here with NATO. And the semifinals means that we get to see best of five between these teams. And I am Pat here with NATO as we were talking during that break. These two teams, between these two, only one game has been dropped by Switch, but Sonata is completely undefeated in this tournament. So we can expect to see a lot of actions. The best teams of this little Squid League are here in this top four. So I can't wait to see more of it. We'll start up with MakoMart on Splat Zones.
Yeah, don't forget, folks, that we started with 49 teams this morning, and we are already down to 4. This is the semifinals, and keep in mind that everything up till now has been a best-of-3 situation. We're moving on to best-of-5 for semis, and finally best-of-7 for finals, which gives just a little bit more time for these experienced, well-developed teams to kind of figure out who's really the one coming out on top. And going into the Splat Zones and Robo here, you had said, Pat, we only had one match drop this entire day between these two teams. How do you think we're going to see this pan out?
I mean, once we can see the composition from these teams, I can tell you more. Right, I love to see both the Trendrigger and the Decavitator on one side. Both of these teams like to go in, like to get into the fight. And look at that on the side of Sonata. They have 3 suction bombs. These bombs will allow them to move Krill Switch away whenever they need to.
Absolutely, and we already also see the battle of the backliners here. We see Heavy Edit on one side versus Pen on the other side. Maybe a little bit of paint control going in the side of Sonata as they have both that Dreadringer and the Pen, but, you know, Krill Switch is definitely no slouch here with already one down. Meat Boy falling down on the side of Sonata, giving the early advantage to Krill Switch, although they really need to capture the zone here, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, the zone is for Sonata, and with the big bubbler in front of it, it's going to be pretty rough for Switch to get in. They have their shooter in, but the gal is called out. Sonata losing 2 players, moving away from... Oh, wait! Okay, the Reef Slider is not going to find much onto the zone, but it's enough for Sonata to keep it. No penalty applied, NATO.
Yeah, you know, most of the time we see Reef Slider as an insta-cap mechanism there, and there just the Reef Slider was able to stall, and going down to a 43-point push, you know, with only a minute expired in this game is a pretty good look immediately for Sonata. I think Krill Switch is going to have to back up a little bit here as they're already going 2 down with Meat Boy down there and the gal working using that screen to sort of push Sonata back just a little bit. They're going to put up some points of their own here.
Yeah, it's a Krill Switch are making good points, but Sonata is already on the zone. The bubbler allowed them to paint enough to apply penalty again. And now we're back to a fight for me. The gal for Krill Switch finding the fight, not getting punished under the spawn of Sonata. Krill Switch are going to stay in control of the zone, and they don't have that much penalty made of it. Oh well, penalties applied again.
You know, you are totally right. Not a lot of penalty to burn through, but as soon as the Reef Slider comes out, that's one way to insta-cap the zone, and they totally did here. Now, again, Krill Switch found themselves in an interesting position. They have the screen up, which is pushing Sonata back into their spawn. Meat Boy getting another trade there, moving Sonata back. I think this is going to be Krill Switch's chance to burn more of that penalty, Pat.
Yeah, they're already rid of it now. All they need to do is keep it painted, but it's easier said than done. Sonata is pushing as strong as they can. The Reef Slider is ready again. They don't even need it to take the zone thanks to the bubbler. Sonata is back in control, still in the lead.
You know, it seems like every single time Krill Switch is getting close, maybe getting a couple of points off, it's just specials are just pouring out from the side of Krill Switch. Although that time it was definitely punished. Krill Switch shuts down Sonata's Reef Slider there. Again, they see all 4 members kind of back in spawn here. Krill Switch finally burning a bunch of points off of their if it's not the decap coming in, and yet one more time it's the Reef Slider from Sonata. Man, I can't even get these words out, Pat. Things are just going back and forth here.
They're not stopping, but it's working pretty well for Sonata. Their strategy of simply constantly coming back in, getting more and more, maintaining their lead has been working, but now the lead is as slim as it gets, and teams are still fighting for that zone. The zone is blue again, and Krill Switch in a 2v2 are trying to take control and they're able to push people away.
Yeah, Dreadwinger wisely choosing to jump out there. They know they need this Reef Slider for the recap, like they've done so many times before, although Krill Switch is getting very close to the lead. Although, with that coming in, are we going to see a cap? No! What a shot there with the Reef Slider not capping the zone. That is lead switch for Krill Switch, and might be a couple more points than just one. Yes, we're seeing at least a 10-point lead here coming out from the side of Krill Switch, and maybe some more if they can prevent this cap.
Sonata right now, after being in the lead for most of the game with 1 minute left, are struggling. They only have one player left. It's on the zone, but everybody from Krill Switch is there to paint it, to push that decavitator away. And Krill Switch right now, they look in full control. 40 seconds left in the game, and all they need to do is delay, and paint the square.
Exactly, you know, that lack of cap coming out from the side of Sonata is coming back to bite them here as Meat Boy again putting in work on this gal, looking for one pick, managing to get a second. Can they get a third? Yes, they can. That's a wipeout. What a pop-off from the side of Meat Boy here, and it looks like there's no chance of getting back to the zone as Krill Switch, after being behind that entire game, really managed to come back there and just take the KO. I'm impressed, Pat.
Yeah, Sonata, they tried to play a bit too much off of the early lead that they got, and they had a monster push at the start. They were able to take so many points off of that, but then Krill Switch got control, got onto the map, and Sonata were not able to push them away. Sonata was just simply constantly reef sliding onto the zone, applying paint, and then moving out, letting Krill Switch get a little bit more of their penalty. After push after push after push, Krill Switch was simply getting back. And then when Krill Switch was about to completely get rid of that penalty, Sonata failed to cap the zone. They didn't manage to get the Reef Slider onto the zone. And then it was just Krill Switch getting the momentum and ending the game.
Exactly. You know, I think Krill Switch knew that they had to play to their strengths there, which was getting picks. And time after time, we saw Krill Switch sort of push Sonata back into their spawn there, kind of back on their plat. And every single time, up until the end, Sonata was always able to find just enough specials, just enough paint to capture that zone, get the big bubble down. But, you know, it only takes one time. And that was that triple coming out from the gal on the side of Krill Switch to really seal the nail in the coffin of Sonata. And as we're moving to a counter pick here, what do you think we're going to see coming out of Sonata as they're in the counter pick favor?
I mean, Sonata, they've shown us that they like to get in, they like to get into fights. So, sorry, probably a bit of Rainmaker, something that allows them to really play to that fast paced and to these lots of fights that they want to have.
That was exactly where my mind was going as well. I don't think they're going to re-go to zones because, you know, they can go back if they want to because they haven't won on zones, but I think Rainmaker really plays to their strengths, and they can just get a big enough push at the beginning, sort of like they did in that zones games, then they can push Krill Switch back and just be like, hey, we just need to hold on to this for the remaining 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever it takes. And to your point, looks like it's zones, but this time it's Haggle instead.
Yeah, Haggle is... We're staying into the classic zones maps, at least, and I'm really wondering whether Sonata will be able to do better here. It's very much of, can you get ahead of the zone? Can you take that control forward? Sonata right there. It's really a matter of, are they able to find a good push that's able not just to get to the zone, but to push Krill Switch away, which we haven't really seen Sonata do since after the first minute of the game.
Yeah, they had that about 60-point push right at the beginning of the Robo game, and it looked like they were in a very dominant position, and they were. 60 points is nothing to scoff at for an initial zones push, and I think what they're going to try to do here is replicate that sort of early aggression that gets Krill Switch back on the back foot, kind of back to their canopy ramp area, and says, hey, we're going to get as many points off this as possible, and then we're going to try to match your aggression with our special usage. Because I think we saw a lot of good special usage coming out from the side of Sonata. We saw that big bubbler. We saw the constant tacticoolers. We saw all of the reef sliders over and over again, although the geometry of this stage is just a little bit different. And maybe, what do you think? Maybe we're going to see reef slider again? It's hard to say. I say for Dreadringers, it's either a pick for zones, maybe pick for a particular zones match, or you just play Dreadringer and that's all you play. So I'm curious to see if we see any adjustments coming out from the side of Sonata for the zones game.
So I learned recently, thanks to Pochara, that you can reef slide from the tent directly onto the zone. And there's
Can you really? Does the geometry work out that way?
So you need to have the right angle so that you land after the ledge. Of course, like there's the tiny ledge, but it's possible to reef slide onto the zone from the tent. Huh. And there's no counter to that. As long as you have the special power up, you get the zone.
Pat, I didn't think that geometry was possible. I thought that was just way too far away. So in that particular case, you would need to stop the dread from even getting up there, right? And that's kind of a tall order on a map like Hagglefish Zones here, but we'll see pretty quick. And okay, this is interesting. So previously we saw the dread came out, and it looks like this time we are seeing a bucket, but it's the vanilla bucket. It looks like that Sonata is going to be going for a little more of the more traditional strike stall than they are just zones instacap, right?
Yeah. One thing to note is that both teams are bringing a Zipcaster, but team's Zipcaster is very different. I don't see a Vanilla Luna that often.
I never see Vanilla Luna. What is that weapon?
It's got Splat Bomb and Zipcaster, and if it's used well, it can really do a lot of damage.
And speaking of the Luna, already putting in a ton of work, getting behind Sonata as Krill Switch is going to kind of eke away at this lead here, already in Sonata's spawn, although kind of in a bad spot now. Krill Switch going 2 down, giving Sonata the 1-player advantage as they try to get back in the mid here.
Yeah, and we're now seeing Krill Switch holding control. They have the zone. It's now like bringing the Zipcaster in, trying to get in, cutting the distance with, but but a lot of players from Sonata were down during the Zipcaster. That's going to be more control for Krill Switch. No penalty was applied, NATO.
I thought for sure we were going to see a switch there, because that entire time the Zipcaster on the side of Sonata, the Stamper player, was distracting their backliner, but they just could not get enough paint on zone. And with another pick coming out from Meat Boy, who has been doing crazy work here so far in this set, there's only 13, and another pick coming out from the bomb Sonata needs to cap now.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. They only have their Stamper on the zone. Ooh, and that Stamper is splatted. Krill Switch are up 2-0 in this best of 5.
Oh my goodness. So, right at the beginning, we saw Sonata, they kind of get some early points on the board, is good. But then Krill Switch, using that Zipcaster Luna that you had just talked about, kind of gets behind them, pushes them back to their spawn. And even though they go 2 down again, they just cannot get the momentum going to even recap the zone, right? Because we saw the Stamper Zipcaster come out. It was doing some work, but to your point, too many players on the side of Sonata went down, and you can't cap the zone if you can't paint.
Yeah. It's the thing with a Zipcaster. Zipcaster, it forces you to look behind you, to look behind your back. And when Krill Switch's Zipcaster went through, Sonata didn't look behind them. And because of that, the Luna managed to get several splats.
Indeed.
Meanwhile, on the other side, when Sonata activated the Zipcaster, that Zipcaster went a bit too far, didn't get enough attention from Krill Switch, and Krill Switch were able to win the fight to splat the squid that were still in front of them. Beautiful control by Krill Switch right there, showing that they are the Splat Zone's kings.
Yeah, I mean, man, this would be a crazy pick, because don't forget, folks, that the counter pick favor is still in the side of the losing team. So it's Sonata's counter pick again. This would be a crazy pick if they decided to go back to zones, but I'm going to be honest, I don't think it's worth it at this point. I think at this point, if you've already been bested twice on zones, it's time to go to Rainmaker like we were talking about earlier, or just any other map mode that might give you an advantage over your opponent.
Do not go back to zones, please, Sonata. It's not working for you. It's not your mode. Maybe it's your mode against other teams. This is
Yeah.
Krill Switch, and they like it better.
Yeah, I think if you're going to make a counter pick here, we talked a little bit about Rainmaker earlier, but you really got to pick something where those sort of ratty weapons that are getting behind you, getting in your spawn, throwing up a screen, throwing up a zipcaster don't work quite as well. So I think, Pat, we're going to honestly see some sort of Rainmaker or maybe even Clam Blitz here. And okay, well, right as I say it, I eat my own words. It's going to be the counter pick of all counter picks. TC MakoMart.
They like to make you laugh. Each time, as you say, they have to counterpick this. It comes down. MakoMart is. We are staying on the classic maps. We are staying on the maps that are known quantities, which means both of these teams have practiced these map modes.
Yeah, they both know how to play them, but do they know how to play the other team? So, for example, does Sonata know how to play Krill Switch here? And I think we've seen enough weapon variety come out from the side of Krill Switch that maybe they have a sense of, hey, here's how these folks play, here's how we want to counter it. And on something like MakoMart, where exactly, hey, first checkpoint is going to be right underneath our drop. We can defend that clearly. Second checkpoint is going to be a little further down. We can defend that clearly. Maybe they have a pretty well-defined strategy here, and they know what they need to do, which is obviously win, but they also have a sense of here's what we can, here's the weapons, and here's what we expect the opponent to pick in this situation to give us the win.
Yeah, at least they changed something. Now, Sonata, they have a good slosher player that we've seen. If that slosher player can set themselves up under the ledges, under the stacks, they can deal a lot of damage. But we've seen Krill Switch have a Luna Blaster. If you're very good with Luna Blaster, this is the map for Luna, I feel.
And that's one of the reasons why I was so shocked to see TC as the counter pick coming up from Sonata, because if you've just been schooled by a Luna Blaster, maybe picking tower control isn't the immediate thing that comes to mind. But again, these teams, they know what to counter pick. And, Decav here on the side of Sonata coming back out again. The Luna, to your point, comes back out. That is the Zipcaster Luna with the drop roller, and the Slosher is back. So I think Sonata is trying to play to those ledges play that you were talking about earlier, Pat.
Yeah, and you need to pay attention to the Decavitator that's coming back. That Decavitator will be absolutely key to taking control and to holding the tower. If you have your bubbler on the tower, you can simply get a checkpoint very fast.
Indeed, already we see a trade, one going down from each side. We've gone back to a 4v4 situation. Both teams not really wanting to tap the tower just yet, as actually 3 go down on the side of Krill Switch. Finally, advantage here for Sonata. They're going to call out the last player here, and a good initial push, although they do lose their pen pad.
And right now, Sonata, I'm not able to pierce through the checkpoint. Oh, they're still on it. They're still fighting for it. But a bit too eager.
This is just a crazy scrap. I thought for sure with 3 going down on the side of Krill Switch early there that we were going to see a checkpoint fall and maybe a lot more, but I think with the loss of their pen, they just weren't quite sure what to do. Already we see 2 down on the side of Sonata, 3 down on the side of Sonata with only 1 remaining, and Meat Boy knows where they are. That is yet another pick. Trade is very good situation if you're trying to push the first check here.
And Krill Switch are going to get rid of that checkpoint like it's nothing. And their Splash is already on that platform. Look at that. The Splash right now is taking so much attention. He's no longer taking any attention, but the rest of Krill Switch was able to take control over the rest of the map. And even with Sonata taking back some control, pushing the tower away, Krill Switch still has all the control from all of mid right now.
Krill Switch here just refuses to go down. They are already pushing themselves up behind that glass wall. The tower is moving back toward to gain them a few more points, already beneath 60, and 2 down again on the side of Sonata. Oh my goodness, the pen gets a good pick to kind of stop this situation, but they need to regain mid here, Pat.
Every time, every action, it feels like Krill Switch is in control and Sonata is in a hurry, in a panic. And right now, Sonata are doing whatever they can simply to stay in the middle of the map. They managed to get rid of the Luna Blaster though, and they're able to take some control over the stacks. This is now that they need to get some momentum, and with a Tacticooler, they could get a good attack now on NATO.
Absolutely, with the Luna Blaster going down, that's a good first step. However, already the splash coming from behind and getting some distraction here, although they are going to be able to get down the Tacticooler user on the side of Krill Switch. That's good, but it almost is like it doesn't matter, with Krill Switch just aggressively jumping to mid and trying to cap that tower. Finally, Sonata has control, and they're pushing back to this first checkpoint.
Yeah, and that's very nice control right now. The Slusher is under the ledge. With the strike, they should get the checkpoint. And now both teams, all they need is one good push to get the lead. I mean, Sonata, they only need to stay on the tower. They don't need another checkpoint.
Oh, they absolutely don't, but with 2 down again, I just want to call out that we saw the Luna Blaster Meat Boy from the side of Krill Switch just go to the tower with no fear whatsoever, jumping into 2 enemies and getting that pick, stalling out Sonata for just long enough that they couldn't really translate that push into anything further than about 70 points. This scrap in mid has not stopped, Pat, and there's only about a minute and a half left in this match.
Yeah, Krill Switch right now taking more and more control. That was 3 down onto Sonata, and Krill Switch is now painting. The whole map is blue right now. It's all blue, and Krill Switch is back on the attack. They know they don't even need to push, but with 1 minute left, hey, why not use the time to make some more points?
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be back in a 3v3 situation here, Krill Switch versus Sonata. I would say that's actually in the favor of Krill Switch, especially as it switches over to a 2-4. Looks like they're just trying to keep this painted here. An excellent pick coming out from the side of the dualies on Krill Switch. They do go down, but again, I think that favors the team in the lead here because that puts the tower on the enemy side of the map, leaving Sonata at risk of being pushed all the way back, and yet another trade. 3 down on the side of Sonata. What are they going to do here, Pat?
Alright, now Sonata needs to assemble a push. They have 20 seconds to create a miracle, NATO. And with all the specials deployed by Krill Switch, it's going to be pretty rough. That Slusher is going in, not able to fight until 10 seconds left and 2 players down. Krill Switch are pretty much on a victory lap right now.
Oh, they absolutely are. They're going to have to rush at the tower. 3 go down on the side of Krill Switch, but there's just simply not enough time. What a scrap. You know, I feel like we went a minute in that match, maybe half a minute in that match, without anyone touching the tower, and then suddenly Krill Switch, you know, once they got their 3 down situation, they took that early lead away from Sonata and just sort of ran with it. It's like Sonata couldn't put up a single push that would get them anywhere past that first checkpoint, and that just goes to the aggressive power of Krill Switch. I think they're putting on a total show here, and they are going to the finals, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, Krill Switch just showed their ability to take control of a map, to really lock things down, to not let any mistake by Sonata go unpunished, and that's a very well-deserved 3-0. We will see Krill Switch in the finals right after this very short break. Do not go anywhere.